My name is Fiona Place, Place, not the fish. Born in Galway, at the time was called the Calvary Hospital, it's now Bonsecour, and we were raised, basically, we spent most of our childhood in Renmore. But you know, when I was in Clare, Galway, Merview for a year, then Renmore, and then that's it. When we lived in Lurgan Park, my dad, he was the head of School of Science it was the RTC at the time, it's now the ATU, and my mum took students, and I had 3 brothers, so there was me and 3 brothers, and we had 6 students, and they were full-time digs, so she'd cook them, they made the breakfasts and the dinners, and we fostered kids as well. It was chaotic. Yeah, it was chaotic. I love quietness now, you know, and yeah, that's my childhood. But I mean, we had fun, you know, it was great fun. But I had to share a room at one stage with three lads and myself, you know, and because it was a 6-bedroomed house in Lurgan Park, and then the students had all the other houses, and it was a bit hectic.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, so you had foster brothers and sisters as well.
We did, yeah. She gave that up. I think the last guy we had, his name was Jonathan. I know his mum very well actually, and he's married now in New Zealand. But we gave him back when he was 2, but it really upset Mum because she loved him so much. So I think that was the last of the foster then for us, and it was the students. And then eventually that all stopped. Dad left the family home, you know, and he met someone else, and as happens. And she went back to work as a nurse. She's a nurse by trade, and that was she did for, you know, up until she retired about 20 years ago.
She was a nurse for...
She nursed in England, and she met Dad in England. She was a great nurse, and her dad, my granddad, was a doctor, and she met Dad, and they moved. You know, back then you get married and you have to leave your job and become a mum, which, you know, there's an argument. I kind of, you know, think the domestic thing for a mum is quite important. I'm not going to say anything else because people will say, oh, how dare she, women equality and all that. But yeah, and then she looked after us, took students, and, you know, making more money, and it was a very hectic childhood.
School, how was school for you?
Which one? Primary or secondary? I went into 3. We went to 3 primary schools. I started in Renmore, and then we moved to the Renmore, and so I was in Renmore, and I didn't like Renmore, and then because I'm Church of Ireland, we then went to St. Nicholas in the city, and that's where. And that wasn't a great school either, to be quite honest. Back then, you know, you got hit. Yeah. If and do you know something? For a child to get hit because they don't know something, it does affect you. And then I quite like reading, and I remember in an English class, I read ahead of what we were reading, and I was explaining to the teacher what I had read, and because I was ahead of people, I was made wear a dunce cap and stand in the corner.
You were punished for being
smart, yeah, so it's not good. Anyway, so that was, and then I went to the Jazz, and the Jazz is great if you're self-disciplined. I'm not. So I spent, I loved it. It's great for sports. I mean, I played hockey, I played soccer, but I started drinking at 14, and all that went out the window. I still played a bit of basketball, but so, yeah.
That's a young. How did you, if you don't mind, how did you find yourself drinking at such a young age?
When I was 12, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I was you know, I'm an insulin dependent. I wear an insulin pump now, but back then you had to inject and you had to weigh your food, and I always felt a bit left out. And then at 14, it was my friend's birthday. But I was hanging out with friends. We went into Sally Long's, and I had a half pint of cider, and I loved what it did, and suddenly I felt I belonged, and I wasn't different anymore. That's why I started drinking.
Yeah. Has Galway changed, and if so, how has it since you were younger?
It's very impersonal. That's it. It's you know, you knew everyone. We brought up in Renmore, and Renmore versus Merview, and there was the gangs and all that. But it's now, and it was the dysfunctionality is, but it's so much bigger now, and it's which is great. It's cultural. It's, you know, there's so many different things you can do. But when we were kids, it was it was quite interconnected, you know, and yeah, and it was safer. Like I wouldn't, now I live out in the country now, which is lovely. I don't often come into the city at night time, but I'm uncomfortable if I'm in the city at night time after a certain time. You know, I shouldn't have to be, you know, but there's a lot of things that's got, you know, in the city now, it's not just alcohol anymore, you know, yeah, drugs are big.
Can you remember when you were at your happiest in life?
What a question. When at my happiest, yeah. Ooh. Oh, I'd love to say it when I gave birth to my daughter, but it wasn't very well then. But when I bonded with her, that was a moment I'll never forget. I actually never forget that moment. She was up in PBU, special care unit, because I'm a diabetic mother, so she had to be kept in to get her blood thinned out. And I had to spend the night there, and they said they'd wake me up to feed her. Now I was bottle feeding. They never woke me, but I woke automatically, and I went in and I seen this beautiful baby lying in a little incubator, and I put my finger, I picked her up slowly, and she clutched her hand around my finger, and that was the moment that my motherhood for me started, you know. That was one of my, yeah, that touches me right there. Yeah. Tiny little baby. Yeah, to clutch the finger, just a little finger, and my heart, and I went, oh my God, I gave birth to her, you know. And then the maternal instinct suddenly took over.
What would be like your proudest moment or memory?
Do you know, when I stopped drinking. When I stopped drinking, my dad said to me, you know, he was a big bridge player, both parents are, and he said, I think it's time now, I'll teach you how to play bridge. So I went, oh, what else am I going to do, I suppose? So he taught me, and I always said, oh, I'd love to be able to play with him, wouldn't it be great? Because I didn't, you know. And I enjoyed the game, and then I got some good partners, and I started playing regularly. And during the pandemic, you know, when everything was shut down, bridge became online, and we began to play together as a partnership, and it became an equal partnership, which it was such a lovely thing I could do it. You know, the last few years of his life, we didn't know he was going to die, but to be able to do that, to be his friend, you know, because when I was in my teenage years and early 20s, I always thought he thought I was an embarrassment, you know, but far from it. He was so proud of me. And the last bridge game we had, we were meant to play a competition that weekend, and on the Friday night he said to me, Fiona, I love playing cards with you. And he was dead the following Monday, you know, but it was so proud to be able to have that connection with him, you know, and him to enjoy playing with me, you know, and to be able to be his bridge partner. I really was the best moment of my life. Yeah, one of them.
Oh, that's so special. Do you have any regrets?
Do you know, I get a lot of help, you know, and they say don't have any regrets. But sometimes I wish when my daughter was younger that I was in a position to give her a proper childhood. But I did when she was 11. I became a mum then, a proper mum, you know. But do I have regrets? You know, no, I don't actually. Because I love my life the way it is today. I could be stuck in an office all day from 9 to 5, having a briefcase and wearing a pencil skirt, but I'd be depressed and I'd have to take Valium or something to get me through the day. I don't need to do that. No regrets whatsoever. I love my life the way it is.
If you could go back in time and give a very young Fiona one piece of advice, what would that be? Don't
drink. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Nil illegitimae carborundum. It's the Latin for that. That's the advice I give.